This is why it's the big macro opportunity. This is why so many of my friends and colleagues, famous macro people, have just walked out of the old world into the new world, because it's like, this is the big one. Macro people look for the big trade. You know, it was the subprime crisis, it was all of that. But the returns coming out of this space dwarf all of those opportunities added together. Gone are the days where an incredible macro year would be Paul Tudor Jones up 100%. People in crypto get that regularly.
Raoul Pal, the man who commands millions of eyes in the crypto universe, just delivered that insight, and it's shaking up everything we thought we knew about XRP. You've heard the buzz, seen the headlines, and maybe even followed his every word over the years. But now, with his latest take on XRP, the entire conversation is evolving. Why does this matter? Because if one of the industry's most respected strategists is pivoting his stance, then the ripple effects across the crypto market could be monumental.
You don't know this yet, but when you log onto the platform, a Raoul Pal avatar comes in and reads you the news, the AI-generated news, every morning. That image of me is actually my AI, trained on me, in my voice, trained on my Twitter feed and all of my free content. Now, I'm going to talk to me now. If I'm going to drink Bollinger, what cryptocurrency should I buy with it to accompany its elegance?
I'd say Ethereum is the Bollinger of the crypto world. Why? Because it's not just about the surface level sparkle, it's about the layers underneath. Ethereum is the backbone of decentralized finance, NFTs, and so much more. It's like Bollinger in that it's not just a drink, it's an experience, a statement. But if you're feeling a bit more adventurous, maybe XRP could be your play. It's a bit of a special situation right now with the ongoing legal drama, but I think it's got potential for a positive resolution. It's like a vintage champagne that's been sitting in the cellar, waiting for the right moment to pop. So, Bollinger in one hand, Ethereum or XRP in the other. Now that's a pairing worth celebrating. What do you think?
I love it. Thank you for your help, Raoul.
For those new to the scene, Raoul Pal isn't just any pundit. He's the co-founder of Real Vision, a leading economic powerhouse whose insights drive the decisions of investors around the globe. With a net worth estimated between $350 million and $450 million, his opinions aren't just sound bites, they're market-moving calls. When Pal speaks, the market listens. And his recent perspective on XRP, it might just be the most compelling twist in the crypto saga to date.
There are literally two bets in the world, technology and crypto. And the NASDAQ is down 99.97% versus Bitcoin since 2012.
How much of your personal money do you invest in crypto?
100% of my liquid net worth, and it has been 5 years.
Have you done well?
Yeah, very well. I've not made any major mistakes. I mean, I've been in this journey since 2013, so I have made mistakes. My mistake was I bought it at 200. I put a not bad sized bet in, considering how unproven it was in 2013. It was how unproven it was, and it went up. It went up 5x or something in the first 3 months of me buying it.
Remember back in September 2022, when a question about XRP first sparked a flurry of debate? A fellow commentator, Saran Orb, asked the question that would later resurface in Pal's evolving narrative. What about XRP? At that moment, Pal's response wasn't just a casual comment. It was a deep dive into the core of Ripple's purpose. He explained that despite the noise surrounding lawsuits and regulatory setbacks, Ripple isn't just riding on speculation. It's a sophisticated money transmission network with deep-rooted connections to global governments, playing a pivotal role in an emerging digital financial system. And that's precisely why XRP's value isn't measured solely by market hype. It's underpinned by real-world usage.
It is clear XRP is not a security. This is Raoul Pal.
Some very interesting news out of the USA that XRP has been deemed not a security. So just what's your hot take on this situation?
I mean, we thought the good news coming was going to be the ETF. We knew this was in the background. I always had a decent probability that this was going to happen, but it dropped like a bomb today, and XRP is up 75% in a day. But what it does is it shows that the regulators are overreaching. Now, we don't have that around elsewhere in the world because most of the regulators elsewhere have been reasonably decent about crypto, but the US was the one that weren't. Gensler was really attacking the space. So what that's done is unleashed so many of the larger alt tokens that launch in similar ways to XRP that should not be deemed a security, and that's going to make the space more investable. At the margin, it allows others to enter into the space. We saw XRP get relisted by Coinbase immediately. Okay, that's a big statement. It means that institutions will be more comfortable around it. That allows more people into the space. So people who might be nervous of Solana or some of the others may look at this now and say, look, the probability of those being called a security is now becoming much smaller by the day, and therefore the risk profile of owning these things is much lower.
Now, fast forward to today, the crypto landscape has morphed dramatically. The FOMO around XRP has reached fever pitch as new market dynamics come into play. With central bank digital currencies gathering momentum globally, Ripple's network suddenly appears more vital than ever. Powell's argument is simple yet profound. If legal hurdles are cleared and Ripple's strategic positioning in global finance is fully realized, XRP's underlying value could skyrocket. But then there's a twist, a fresh, game-changing perspective that led him to revise his XRP prediction entirely.
XRP is going to $10,000. Mark this day on your calendar, March 20th, 2025. ISO 2200 is going live. What that means is all banks worldwide have to integrate this system in which cryptos run on it.
Could XRP go to $10,000? Who fucking knows? Nobody knows, but I can tell you that when this lawsuit's done, you're going to see $5. When the XRP reserve comes in, you're probably going to see $10, $15, $20. When the banks start using this coin, you're going to see all of this shit double overnight, I'm telling you. Could it ever reach 10,000? Who fucking knows?
Let's break it down. Raoul Pal has always been a visionary, unafraid to challenge conventional thinking. His earlier take on XRP was rooted in the belief that its valuation stemmed not just from hype, but from its real usage as a critical payment protocol. Even when Ripple was blacklisted from numerous exchanges due to ongoing litigation, Pal argued that the true measure of XRP's worth was the sheer volume of value transacted on its network. In his own words, "When I use my netcast law model, the amount of value that gets transacted on the chain is very high." This wasn't a vote of blind faith. It was a call to recognize that XRP's foundation was built on utility, not just speculation.
Don't fuck this up. Buy and hold, don't use leverage, use cold storage, do the right thing, don't get too speculative, don't FOMO, just don't fuck this up. This is the biggest opportunity we've ever been given. I've said that all the way from 2020 onwards, and in fact I said it all the way back in 2012. It's the biggest macro trade of all time. Don't fuck this up. And if you're not a crypto person, technology is one of the biggest opportunities we've ever been given, the exponential age. Again, don't fuck this up. Just be careful. Just buy, hold, have a long-term time horizon, and learn how to take pain. And when there is pain, you buy more. Unless something changes the thesis that suddenly we're all going to turn into Neanderthals and nobody's going to use technology ever again, it is going up. It's as simple as that.
But here's where the narrative takes a fascinating turn. As the market evolved, so did Pal's analysis. The macro environment is now signaling an extended period of phenomenal returns. An 18-month window, he predicts, where investors might see gains so substantial that you could throw a dart blindfolded and still make money. With interest rates easing, liquidity flooding back into the market, and corporate earnings rebounding, the stage is set for a crypto summer like no other. And in this environment, the dynamics between XRP and other emerging assets are shifting in unexpected ways.
This is the biggest macro opportunity of all time. I've basically dedicated a lot of my life to this trade now. And many others in the space, particularly macro players, have basically just given up trading other instruments and just gone towards crypto, because the world, driven by the everything code, is basically all one trade, the debasement of currency by the central banks, and therefore you want to own the best performing asset. And if the world is that simple, it really does make things much easier for us. Now, this is not for everybody.
In the midst of this surge, one asset in particular has caught Pal's eye, a rising star that he believes could outperform XRP in the coming months. He's been talking about it for a while now. This coin, which started at a mere 70 cents and has now rocketed to around $4. While XRP remains a stalwart, a true workhorse in the crypto ecosystem, Pal is signaling that the winds of change may favor alternatives with stronger momentum. He's candid about it, even saying, "I think Sui's a fantastic bet," hinting at a strategic pivot that has many in the crypto community reevaluating their positions. The implication? Holding on to XRP might mean missing out on the explosive returns promised by assets riding the new wave of market enthusiasm.
You join the board of the SWI Foundation when you probably get thousands of advisory requests per year. What's so special about the SWI network before prices starting to go up that made you want to join the SWI rocket ship?
I'd followed the Libra story, I'd written about it, I'd done podcasts on it. I thought it was incredible. I was not going to join any token because I knew that I have an outsized impact because of my follower base and stuff like that. And so I had to be very careful and reputationally very careful. I didn't want something that was going to be crappy, implode, or anything else. So it had to be a really big project that had a high probability of doing well, or at least being in with a chance. The downside of obviously is it's a low float because there was a lot of investor interest in early days. So I knew there was going to be a bit of that, and I knew that the team didn't yet understand community and Web3, and there was learnings, but I just thought that if anything was going to have a chance of succeeding, it was going to be this. Now, could it have been another token? Maybe, but this one was so obvious because the team and the story that I thought I could risk myself going on the board.
Yet Pal's evolving prediction isn't a blanket dismissal of XRP. Far from it, he acknowledges its undeniable value. XRP is a real player, he asserts, noting that while its performance might not be the flashiest in the current bull market, its role as a global money transmission network remains crucial. Ripple's deep connections with central banks and its involvement in multiple CBDC partnerships position it uniquely for a future where traditional finance and blockchain technology merge seamlessly. Ripple has already announced 5 or 6 CBDC partnerships, and rumors suggest even more are in the pipeline, with around 130 countries now exploring digital currencies, and Ripple in active conversations with about 30 central banks. The network's long-term potential is clear. So why the change in prediction? It comes down to the shifting balance between speculative hype and intrinsic value. In previous years, XRP's legal challenges and regulatory uncertainty often overshadowed its core utility. But now, as those hurdles begin to clear and the broader market reorients itself toward the practical applications of blockchain technology, PAL's focus has shifted. The narrative is no longer solely about the immediate price action. It's about the long-term role XRP will play in a digital financial ecosystem that's rapidly coming to fruition. This isn't just theory, it's a call for investors to recognize that while hype can drive short-term gains, the real winners are those assets with fundamental, sustainable value.
It has now been confirmed that Ripple is working directly with the Bank of International Settlements on a new project called Polaris. Now, this project is about making CBDCs work offline. So if the internet goes down or you can't access the internet, you want the CBDC, the central bank digital currency, to still work, whether there's no internet. So they're preparing for the cyber attacks, the blackouts, and making sure that a CBDC is equal to cash in terms of, you can still use it when there's no internet. And we know that Ripple's working on this because the handbook for offline payments with CBDCs has contributions from people who work at Ripple. And that can be seen here. Anthony Ralphs from Ripple and Anthony Welfare are contributing or have contributed to this document. Bullish, bullish, bullish.
And yet, as PAL navigates this complex landscape, he isn't immune to criticism. Many in the crypto community have a tendency to latch onto ideas without reevaluating them, a cult-like adherence to outdated narratives. Listen, he says, if you believe in something and you're passionate about it, that doesn't mean you're in a cult. His words challenge investors to remain flexible, to constantly adapt their strategies based on new information. It's a refreshing reminder that in the fast-paced world of crypto, clinging too tightly to one idea can be a costly mistake. Throughout his discussions, PAL has emphasized the importance of understanding market cycles. He points out that we're entering an era where liquidity is surging, interest rates are poised to drop, and the overall economic environment is becoming significantly more favorable for investors. We're coming into an easy environment, he notes. Rates are at 5.5%, headline, CPI is at 2.5%. All of this is setting the stage for a period of rapid gains. It's a bullish sentiment that's hard to ignore, and it's one of the reasons he's recalibrated his view on XRP. The revised prediction isn't a sign of lost faith. It's an acknowledgement that market dynamics are fluid, and the best strategy is to be agile.
So we showed you the ISM cycle and how it's forecastable, but we can forecast liquidity too. And if liquidity is the driver of assets, guess what? We can forecast assets. Let's go back to the chart we looked at before. The business cycle, the Institute of Supply Managers survey is the best general business cycle indicator. And we can now put one cycle, the previous cycle, onto the new cycle and invert it, and you get this. You get the repeating cycle. So that tells us, forward looking, the business cycle should be going up now. Okay, so let's forward look liquidity. Don't expect this to be perfect, but here is, using the ISM cycle, we can forecast the global liquidity cycle. And it suggests that global liquidity peaks in September 2024, and it doesn't go negative until December 2025. Our work tends to suggest that the assets peak when the liquidity cycle goes negative or just around beforehand, but it could peak not with peak liquidity, but somewhat on its way. But generally speaking, it tells us we've got most of 2025 to be positive, and then things go negative again.
In the heart of all this discussion is a fundamental question. What truly defines value in the crypto space? For Pal, it's not about which asset is the flavor of the day or which one can ride the hype cycle the longest. Instead, it's about identifying the platforms that are actively shaping the future of finance. XRP, with its extensive network and pivotal role in global transactions, certainly fits that bill. But it's also clear that other assets like SUI are carving out their own niche by delivering superior returns in a bullish market. This duality creates a fascinating tension, one where traditional utility and innovative momentum coexist, sometimes even in competition. Raoul Pal's shifting stance on XRP is a wake-up call for every crypto investor. His decision to adjust his XRP prediction isn't about abandoning a once-favored asset. It's about embracing a more nuanced view of a complex market. He's essentially telling us that it's time to look beyond the headlines and understand the underlying trends. While XRP continues to be a cornerstone of digital finance, its role may evolve as new opportunities emerge. And that's exactly what his latest prediction captures: a vision of the future where investors are rewarded for staying informed and adaptable.
When you look at the price of Bitcoin, of where it is today, and where Ripple is at, this is what you'll notice. Today, Ripple is give or take $244. Bitcoin today, give or take $86,000. Okay? If you go back 4 years ago, Ripple's high was $1.65. Bitcoin 4 years ago was $64,000. If you go to 2017 to 2018, Ripple high was $384. Bitcoin was $17,800. To let's just say $86 to $100,000, it's 6x, let's say 5x, while Ripple has actually gone down. Now, of course, there's a pending lawsuit. Is that going to get cleared? You know, security, is it a security? Is it not? President Trump, he's mentioned an XRP, and what's kind of weird in his whole Truth Social post, you know what's the first cryptocurrency he puts in there? It's not Bitcoin. It's not Ethereum. It's not Cardano. The first one he puts in there is XRP Ripple. Why?
There's also an important element of timing at play here. Pal mentions that the current market conditions, driven by a combination of easing interest rates, rising liquidity, and strong corporate earnings, create an environment where even so-called old coins like XRP can be outpaced by newer, more dynamic projects. It's a reminder that the crypto market is not static. What works today might not be as effective tomorrow, and the ability to pivot is crucial. In one of his more candid moments, he warns against the complacency that comes from being too attached to one narrative. Hope is not an investment, he declares, urging investors to base their decisions on data, trends, and a willingness to adapt. At its core, this evolving prediction is about more than just XRP. It's about recognizing that the crypto market is entering a new phase, one where informed decision-making trumps blind allegiance. Pal's insights compel us to ask, are we ready to challenge our own assumptions? Can we look beyond the hype and see the real potential in the assets that are quietly revolutionizing finance? His message is clear: change is inevitable, and those who remain nimble will be the ones to reap the rewards.
Last week, we had Grayscale come out and do a SUI trust. This one really feels it has some momentum.
Just the disclaimer is I am on the board of the foundation. I'm a mercenary when it comes to my own money and have for a while been thinking is that this might be one of the chosen ones. And the reason being is that the team is world-class. They've built scalable blockchains suitable for 3 billion people plus. They've got the latency of the chain down to 600 milliseconds. It's stupid fast. So they're just capturing mind share. Now, don't forget, this is a low free float. You're going to of love them in a bull market and hate them again in a bear market because they're just super beta. You know, they seem to be executing well and people are looking for the next big trade. And so it feels like it's got everything right. I don't see what else is going to dominate.
In the end, Raoul Pal's latest insights serve as both a warning and an inspiration. They remind us that in the volatile world of crypto, the only constant is change. As the market matures and new dynamics emerge, the tools for success will belong to those who are agile, informed, and unafraid to rethink their positions. Whether you're a die-hard XRP supporter or a curious observer trying to navigate the complexities of digital finance, one thing is clear: the future is being written by those who dare to challenge the status quo. The question now is, what will you do with this information? Will you stick with your old predictions, or will you pivot, adapt, and seize the new opportunities that lie ahead? Raoul Pal's revised XRP prediction isn't just a forecast. It's a call to action for anyone serious about thriving in the crypto space. So as we close this chapter, remember that every investment decision is part of a larger journey, a journey of continuous learning, adaptation, and growth. What do you think this means for the future of XRP? Could its role as a global money transmission network finally come into its own once the legal clouds dissipate? Or will emerging assets like SUI redefine what it means to be a winner in this new era of digital finance? And as always, we invite you to join the conversation, share your thoughts, and, most importantly, keep questioning, keep learning, and keep moving forward. Because in the fast-evolving world of cryptocurrency, every new insight could be the key to unlocking tomorrow's success.